all, and welcome back to another wonderful video. Today I am here and on YouTube. What's going on? Well, today I am here on my community post because I made this post about 6 days ago asking everyone, and basically just making this little bit of an announcement saying that can YouTube comments make a decent Ponytown island? And I wanted to find out, so I had people comment their suggestions, and over time I have updated people and got more suggestions as time gone on until finally there was only just this tiny little space left, and at last we had a completed island which looks something a bit like this. That's right, this island right here is built up of nothing but the comments that I got on that community post as well as the other community posts. Today I thought I would just do a little bit of a tour and also kind of try to answer that question that I had at the very beginning. Can YouTube comments make a video? So let's go through with a little bit of a tour and start our little journey at the docks. That's right, the docks was something that I knew I was going to get a suggestion for. I knew it was going to happen, but I didn't know when it was going to happen. So I kind of tried to make sure there would be space for a dock because I knew someone was going to eventually suggest, hey, build a dock with a boat and stuff like that. So I made sure to make some space, and as you can see here, there's some empty boxes, some crates, some barrels, all kinds of things like that. And something else that people suggested was a little bit of a tiki bar, and I don't know if I really completed that or not, but I think I did a pretty good job with a little bit of a tiki bar design. But you can come here and you can order yourself some bananas, and of course get yourself some bananas. I really like what I did with the flowers here because I made it look like the flowers were kind of in between or like growing through or something like that. I found that to be a little bit interesting, and you can squeeze between here. Not right here for some reason, even though this is perfectly even and perfectly flipped. You can't fit right there for some reason, and I never figured out why. But that's the little tiki bar. I added a couple of seating areas out here because this was a little bit of a dead space that didn't really have anything going on. And then, of course, again, this is something else I knew people would suggest, but I knew people would ask for a beach. So I made sure, of course, to make some space for a beach. And the beach is very basic. It's just a little bit of sand, a couple of spots to sit at, some tiki torches. This somehow glitched and lower than what it was before. I don't know how the hell that happened. There's your little beach, some bushes, some sand, and a little bit of a plank thing to go across. And returning back here to the very beginning, you may have noticed all this stone. This is a stone pathway that brings you to the library. That's right, the library, with a little skeleton corner and a little blue thinking corner. And then I had some ruins here too because there was a little bit of a theme that I decided to stick with because I knew it was going to be hard to find a theme and really stick to it because of all the random comments that I was going to get. Like, we have some beach stuff going on, we have a library, we have this little cafe here, which was based on the Camp Bad Place episode where Share Cold made a little cafe for their build contest and stuff. I knew it was going to be hard to come up with a theme, so added some ruins and added some other things too. Let me know in the comments below if you can guess what that theme is. I'll give you the answer near the end of the video. But moving on, we can follow this stone path, of course, up to the cafe like I mentioned before. We can, of course, go to the Zen garden. This is one of my favorite things on the island because it is just it is actually very zen. I don't know how I managed to make that happen, but I made it happen somehow. I kind of messed up and I ended up adding this dark tile a little bit last, so it's kind of misaligned a little bit, and I would fix it, but it would take so long to like adjust all these flowers and then readjust everything. So I kind of was just like, it's fine, it's not a big deal. Here's the Zen garden. It's one of my favorite little spots because it does feel very zen. We got a little bit of a spiral pattern with some water rocks and then a big spiral with big rocks. I think it looks nice. But again, moving up on this stone path, we can of course get to a picnic area with a purple flower forest thing. I don't know what you would want to call it, a little flower field. Someone had commented, hey, plop down like 2 buildings for people to stay in or like sleep in or like people to live in or whatever. And I decided that, you know, 2 little buildings somewhere probably isn't going to look very good. So I ended up adding like 4 buildings. So I put one right here, 2 right here, and then of course another one over here. And I decided to throw in a pool right here as well with a little bit of a diving board and a little lifesaver. That's right, a little lifesaver floaty thing. A lot of people suggested a pool, which is another thing that I kind of thought would end up happening, but it ended up happening. Maybe I should have done a video on guessing what people would suggest and do that instead. But anyway, towards the right of the cafe, we have these little orchids or orchids, whatever you want to call them. And then we have some baby ducks or little ducks, whatever you want to call them, crossing this little area to get to the little berries that are on these. And I love this. Someone suggested adding rubber ducks or something like that, and I was like, how the hell am I going to do this? And I just sat here for a very long time trying to figure out how I was going to manage to make that happen, and I somehow managed to make it happen using lemons and mushrooms. And of course, someone suggested having a frog with a pond, so I kind of made this little lake into like a little swampy pond area, and I threw a little frog here on this lily pad, which is really just clovers. Because we don't have anything else that would be even close to, so that should work out the way it is. Made it really swampy with some overgrown trees and stuff, and just left it at that. Next up, we have someone suggested having an apple orchid. Fuck, I can't talk. Someone wanted like an apple farm basically, and I was like, yeah, I can do that, but I'm gonna make it bananas instead. So I made it bananas instead. Every single one of these, if I do see through obstacles, you can see how these are all like bananas that are scattered about here with a bigger banana tree here at the end. And you can go and you can farm yourself some bananas and deal with that. Continuing down here, someone suggested adding the gay pool, so of course I added the gay pool here, and then we'll go all the way to the bottom right last, because I really like that area. But someone suggested adding a tree house, so I made a tree house. This was my first time ever doing anything like this, and I was really surprised at how I managed to make it work. I had these tree limbs line up perfectly with the bottom of the wood, so that it looks like it's being held up by that, as well as being held up by a handful of trees. I knew once I got the suggestion that I would probably need to put a tree in the very middle and surround it in wood or something like that, so it looks like a tree is growing through the middle of your tree house. So that's what I did. I had a little back balcony here that overlooks the little lake right here. A little cozy spot to lay down and sleep in, and of course a little outdoor area to seat in as well. This is one of my favorite builds here because it was my first time doing this, and it ended up working out really well. The only problem I have with it is this kind of spot right here, because I wasn't sure what to do with it. And then of course the ladder, or whatever you want to call it, because I couldn't really figure out how I was going to do that, and it's still, I'm not super impressed by, but it is what it is. So moving on, let's carry on and keep going up this way, because we haven't seen the whole island yet. There's some baskets here that you can go and collect those bananas with, so take it that way you will. Someone suggested pumpkin patch, so I added a little pumpkin patch. Someone suggested a playground, so I added a playground complete with a sandbox, some swings, and tetherball. That's right, this is supposed to be a little tetherball, soccer ball kind of thing that you can kick around and play that. There isn't any other way to really add playground stuff, so that's kind of just what I ended up having to do. I added this little shed for the pumpkin farm, and then someone suggested a well with vines coming out of it, and I don't know how I managed to make it happen, but I somehow managed to make it happen. Here is your well with vines coming out of it. I hope you're happy. I am very impressed by it, and I love it. And I'm gonna pick up this flower and blow it. So this building here, someone suggested, hey, go build a barn. So I decided to build a barn with some stables and some seating area, and maybe like a little table or counter thing here for working, a couple of barrels, and just left it at that. There was a bunch of extra space here that I didn't know what to do with, so I just added this empty flower bed that maybe they're going to use for a garden in the future. Who knows? But that is pretty much it for the island. I added a little bit of a tiny beach area all the way up here in this very corner because I didn't know what to do with that corner. It was just left over and there wasn't enough room for something really big. But everything here, even this little garden right here, this wasn't part of the cafe build. Someone suggested adding a garden with every colored thing. They wanted a rainbow garden, essentially. So I decided to get some rose bushes and other flowers and stuff and do a little bit of a rainbow garden. And I decided to connect it to the little Camp Bad Place cafe, which I thought was an excellent idea because it gave this a little bit more character, and it allowed me to use this in a good spot instead of having to put it in a weird spot. So moving on, we have one last little stop, and that's this way over here. We have a gravestone with a sign, a minecart with a sign, and then if we go through here, we have a little bit of a sandy beach stone area, and then this little spot right here. This, someone had suggested in the comments saying, oh, build a tomb complete with a summoning circle. and runes and everything. So I decided that I was gonna do that. And I ended up making it more of like a cave kind of thing than anything else. And this is actually probably the best that you're gonna be able to build a cave, because we only have like 2 kinds of rocks, really small rocks, and then this big boulder. We really need more rocks in the game, and it would be really nice to have more of the cave decor in the game so that this would be better and easier. But every single one of these runes are an actual rune, by the way. They are ancient Viking runes, basically, and they all mean different things. This one here means stability, if I'm not mistaken, and I intentionally made it sideways so that it looks like it's, you know, not working properly, even though that doesn't mean anything. This one right here is a rado, which is very important to Vikings. It's like a long journey kind of thing. And then a couple of other ones mean different things. I think it's either this one or it's this one that means hope, or something like that. So these all mean something, and I find it very interesting and fun. I studied Futhark runes a long time ago, and I'm surprised that they actually came into play later in my life because I was able to remember most of these in my head. I just didn't remember what most of them meant. So I had to look up and make sure that I was making them right and stuff like that. But these are all actual runes. You can look it up yourself. They are called Futhark runes, or Futhark runes. I don't know how to say it. And I added this little ruins there, and then of course a little boat with some stuff that is being shipped to the island. And now we get to play our game. What is this island? What is this? What is the theme of this island? Well, this theme of this island is a tourist trap. I decided that it would be a tourist trap because someone had commented the cafe. That was literally like the first comment I got. Then someone commented the pumpkin patch and a couple of like farm and playground stuff. And then someone commented a pool and some buildings, and I was like, screw it. This over here in this top left corner will be like a hotel kind of area where you're vacationing. You have a pool there and everything. And then you have a cafe on the island where you're vacationing. You can go visit the Zen gardens on your vacation. You can go see all the ruins and learn the ancient secrets of what this island once was, which is what all these signs are. It's like, oh, you go to the sign and it tells you information about that specific thing. So like right here, the gravestone is telling you, oh, there's many people that died ancient times during this war or something like that over these ruins or whatever. The mine cart is here, like there used to be an ancient mining operation down here in the caves, and it's very dangerous. Don't go in there because you know, it's really dangerous. We don't allow tourists in there, but really the reason why they don't let tourists in there is because it's, well, they're summoning some kind of weird demon, probably Skella. Yeah, that's kind of it. I decided to put the library there. It's like, oh, you can go to the library, complete with books that were left behind by the ancients that used to live here. Of course, the little tiki bar here for people that are just now getting off the boat. Straight to the tiki bar. They can get themselves a coconut drink if they want to, that sort of thing. The treehouse, I imagined, would be part of the library in a way. It's like, oh, it's the library's treehouse, and it's like a kid exhibit kind of thing for the library. That's why there's books in here and stuff like that. And then of course, like if you wanted to come here on your vacation just to pick some bananas because you can't get them anywhere else, then you can come here and do that. And then maybe you want to see the ducks, you can see the ducks, and you can get yourself a pumpkin from the pumpkin farm, or visit the stables, or however you want to say it. There's so much to do here on the island, and I think it's fantastic. And somehow I made it work. Somehow I took comments, specifically I took comments from posts like this, and I somehow managed to make it work. I mean, you can see on here that people wanted these purple crocus flowers. They wanted the small cafe, much like the Camp Bad Place thing, the pumpkin patches, kids play area like a sandbox and such. Some people kind of had comments that overlapped each other, so some of them were like, oh, build a pool or a public pool, or build a kids play area with a sandbox, but someone else mentioned a playground before them, so I was like, oh, well, I already have it, so I'm not going to do this one. I'll just skip it. And then someone mentioned like, oh, add a stove, but there's technically a stove over there in the cafe, so it kind of overlapped each other and stuff like that. So you can see the quote-unquote stove over here, which is the fireplace. And so some of them kind of overlapped each other, and it ended up working out really well somehow. And here's the guy that suggested the well with added leaves for vines. I don't know if they knew that this was a thing, but I somehow made it work, and I'm still happy about that. But people suggested stuff like bananas. Someone suggested a sandcastle fortress, so I just added sandcastles here and there, because there's no real way to make a sandcastle fortress unless you spammed a bunch of sandcastles, and that was it. Can YouTube comments build a good public island? I think they can, but this is kind of a very specific case, a very special case, because they had suggested things for an island and I put it together. I was the one that was like, this goes here, this goes over here, that goes over there, etc., etc. And honestly, you could argue that I could do a better job and organize this thing way better, but part of the problem was that I had to do them as I got the suggestions and stuff like that, instead of getting all the suggestions at once and planning it out more. But I think I did a pretty good job with putting something here and then putting something there and then putting something over there, etc., etc., etc. So the question is, can commenters build an island? They can with suggestions. If one single person builds that island out of those suggestions, it is possible. But the question now remains, can they do it if they all were working together? If they were all working on the island together at the exact same time. So I don't know when I'm gonna do this, but in the future I will be making a video getting a handful of random people and seeing what they can do to build an island together. I've done this a few times on stream, and maybe I'll do this on stream. Who knows? But that pretty much does it for the video. And yeah, I have nothing else to share here. So I do hope that you enjoyed. If you did, please do consider liking, subscribing, sharing, and doing all of those wonderful things like that. Because when you do those wonderful things like that, not only do you get access to wonderful content such as this, but you also get to become one of yourself, and I think we all want that. So do those wonderful things, and until next time, stay wonderful.